Hey, what's going on, everybody? It has been a while. It is Jar back. Finally, it's been too long, boys. It's been too long. The reason my hiatus is because the NPL minors ended, so I didn't have a lot of content to upload, but it is the return of the NPL minors. We are back, and we have some great content for you today. So, to get started, we just are going to go up into week 1 of NPL minors, and we get to take on our good friend AsterJ, our longtime rival in the Draft League format community. We do have a fairly strong record against him, but hopefully we can keep that going today. So let's just go over the teams really quick. Let me pull up the NPL minors doc for y'all real quick. Alright, we'll take a look at the two teams. Alright, so you're looking right here is my team. Alright, we got Mega Medi, Necrozma, Thunderous, Incarnate, Heatran, Hydreigon, Roserade, Milotic, Ambipom, Flygon, and Comfey. And then down here you got Aster's team featuring Tapu Bulu, Victini, Mamoswine, Cobalion, Mega Blastoise, Cresselia, Salamence Z, Umbreon, and Weezing, and Vikavolt. So let's get into the team I decided to bring. So the first thing I noticed is he has a Cresselia, which is going to completely shut down my Mega Medicham for the most part, and I imagine Umbreon will come to heal Bell off any Toxics I try to throw onto that thing. So the key to this game is going to be, can I break that wall core? I imagine something like the big Victini and Tapu Bulu both coming in this game because they're just giant threats to my team. I do have I do have a few things that quad resist grass, such as the Roserade and Heatran. As you can see, they are both coming because he has a Tapu Bulu. And I do have a Milotic that could take any other hit from Tapu Bulu. So I'm expecting probably not choice on either of those because they kind of need to switch up their moves versus my team, which makes Thunderous a much bigger threat this game, which is really good for us. So let's just hop into the team. So the first mon we're bringing is a Mega Medicham with Pure Power, Fake Out, High Jump Kick, Zen Headbutt, and Toxic. Toxic for the Cresselia, and High Jump Kick and Zen Headbutt do a ton to the rest of his team. As you can see, my speed is just maxed because I do not want to risk the Ments just plain out speeding me. I want to speed to that thing if I can. And Fake Out is for priority and for flinches because, as you do know, we have Toxic and we also have T-Spikes on Roserade, a little spoilers right there. So Fake Out is going to be very good in helping us wear Aster's team down, keeping ours healthy, and overall just trying to break through his team with this thing. We have to get that Cresselia out of the way. That thing is a big problem. And that leads me into this next mon, Thunderous, Incarnate, Electrium Z, Thunderbolt, Grass Knot, Nasty Plot, HP Ice. This thing can do a ton of work to Aster. I just need to get my Nasty Plot up, and then my Electrium Z Thunderbolt will kill a non-max Calm Cresselia. I think it kills Max Calm, so it should have a good roll to kill Max with Bold or something. So I imagine he'll be more physically defensive for the Medicham because my High Jump Kick can still do a lot. This is a very interesting spread. As you can see, I'm not speed creeping Cobalion with this Thunderous. I don't think he'll leave it in versus me anyway, and I have a few other things that can revenge kill the Cobalion that outspeed it. Well, I have one other thing that can outspeed and revenge it, so I don't need to use Thunderous as that thing's revenge killer. Also, this HP investment allows me to live a Life Orb, Adamant, Ice Shard from a Mamoswine. So I was debating between the Electrium Z and Yachi Berry. I had a prep match with David, aka Magic. Shout out to him. He is an NPL minors coach again this season. So I was talking with him about Electrium Z or Yachi, and I ended up going with the Electrium Z. It could hurt us if his Mamoswine ends up being Scarfed, but I thought about it. I'm like, I have a Milotic, I have a Necrozma. He's probably not going to bring a Scarf Mamoswine. He's probably going to bring some kind of Adamant Life Orb where the Earthquake can do a lot to Milotic, and if he Scarfed, Milotic would just plain wall him, and Milotic probably should come this game. I'm just trying to go a little more offensive. So let's get into the third mon. We have Necrozma. Leftovers, Prism Armor, Max almost with 12 speed to avoid any speed creeping, Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Toxic, and Moonlight. Now this set can't touch anything off the ground, but it can Toxic everything. So the Ments and the Crest can get Toxic. I can take a few hits from the Ments, Moonlight up, let that damage rack up on it, and then hopefully put him in range of something else, of Comfey's Draining Kiss, obviously, because that thing has +3 priority. So I should be able to wear the Ments down that way. This thing is my Victini switch-in. He can't spam fire moves versus me, so I feel like Bolt Strike spam could come, and Necrozma can actually take those hits extremely well because of its just very high base HP, very high base defense. We were going with a defensive set this week because I just felt like it was necessary to wall Aster's team. I mean, if we take a look back at Aster's team on the minor stock, I mean, Ments is a problem. I mean, you can even take a hit from Blastoise. Cobalion is an issue. This is also my Mamoswine counter. I mean, this Necrozma is just basically good. That's the game. We'll get to that later. Necrozma is basically just good for everything in this game. So Yeah, Necrozma's coming. That's the set. Next up, we got a physically defensive Roserade. This thing is here for Tapu Bulu. Enough outspeed to outspeed an adamant Tapu Bulu. I am modest because I did want to hit kind of hard with my extrasensory Sludge Bomb. That does do pretty good work to his team. No grass coverage, so I can't OHKO the Blastoise, but I can 1v1 it to some degree because of my naturally high SPDF and the fact that I'll probably outspeed it. I have my Toxic Spikes here because I just figured it's going to be key in wearing down the Victini, the Bulu, the Blastoise, the Umbreon. Getting Toxic on those things is going to be really good. Also, Umbreon cannot synchronize a T-Spike poison onto another Mon, so that is going to be very, very helpful for us. We don't have to get one of our own Mons poison to Toxic that thing, potentially. We're also rocking the Synthesis because this is my Tapu Bulu answer, and if this thing gets worn down too fast, I can heal up. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It can actually do a lot of work to his team offensively because it is modest, but it's there as a defensive check first and foremost. Next up, we got our boy Heatran. It's coming Scarf this week with the Flash Fire, Fire Blast, Earth Power, HP Ice, Flash Cannon, 4 attack, enough speed for Jolly Bulu in case he decides to go Jolly Scarf, predicting a modest Scarf Heatran or something. So we're not risking that. Fire Blast, Earth Power, HP Ice, Flash Cannon. This thing again, Umbreon and Cress are a problem, but if I can wear them down with my hazards, specifically my Spikes and my Rock, then this thing can actually sweep his team late game. Because he just doesn't have a great switch into a Mon with base 130 special attack, spamming very powerful fire moves. I mean, we go back to his team, the only thing that resists this hit is the Mega Blastoise and the Mence, so definitely something we can use to win this game if it comes to that in the late game. So yeah, very, very solid Heatran set, very, very straightforward Heatran set. I don't feel like it needs that much more explaining. HP Ice is for Mence in case I need to stop that thing before it sets up. Flash Cannon for my extra stab, and Earth Power for the Victini in case he tries to use that as a switch-in. Last but not least, I was kind of struggling with this spot for a little while. I knew I wanted to bring the first 5 Mons, and I ended up deciding that Comfey is going to be my last Mon, and basically I was just terrified of Mence. I felt like Salamence could do a lot of work to this team if he gets up a Dragon Dance, so keeping a potential Toxic off my Necrozma with my Aromatherapy was going to be really important, and having +3 Draining Kiss priority could not hurt to stop that Mence. I decided to go with Berry Berry because this can help me beat the Cobalion, also the Mence, and I decided to go with a Calm Mind Taunt variant so I could potentially beat the likes of Cresselia, beat the likes of Umbreon, avoid a Toxic myself, avoid them stalling out my Draining Kisses because I did have only 16 of those, and Calm Mind just to make this Comfey more of a threat to his team. It's pretty much max defense, Calm Mind set with 60 speed to again hit that same speed tier as the Roserade, I believe. Yep, 250, 251. So that is really, really good. Obviously, we're going with the triage ability. And yeah, that's the team we're going to be rocking this week, boys. So let's hop into the battle versus Aster and see what we can do. Now, obviously, you saw the battle a little bit earlier, but here we are finally with the battle. As you can see, if you stopped earlier to look, he does have the Mamoswine, Cobalion, Blastoise, Cresselia, Umbreon, and he chose to bring Vikavolt. So big things I noticed right off the bat. No Victini, no Tapu Bulu, and yeah, those 2 things were big stops to my Comfey. They were also very big offensive threats to my team, so he definitely decided for a bulkier build. I'm imagining the Mamoswine again, some kind of Life Orb variant. Cobalion's probably Rocks. Looking at this team though, it can be extremely slow with Blastoise and Vikavolt, so I thought Trick Room might be a possibility. But the Cresselia is probably there for Medi, so it's probably defensive. Vikavolt is there probably to sweep my team, as I do not have a great Vikavolt switch in after it gets an agility up and starts just firing off Life Orb, Thunderbolts, and Bug Buzzes. I don't have a great switch in, so I understand why he brought it. I thought that was actually a real possibility going into the game, but I did not want to over-prep for Vikavolt. Like, that's just not smart in my opinion, because it's his last pick. But, and last but not least, he has the Umbreon, so my Toxic spam can wear down those heal bells pretty fast, but we're going to have to find a way to get rid of that Umbreon as fast as possible. So, looking at my team and his team, I'm predicting the Cobalion lead, so I figured, you know what, why not just lead off with my Necrozma? I know I can 1v1 it with my Earthquake, so he's going to get his rocks up, I'm going to get my rocks up, so we trade rocks there. He throws off a Toxic because I'm going to throw off an Earthquake trying to get some damage on this Cobalion here, and I'm going to do a good amount, 45%, so that leads me to believe he is a little more offensive than I may have expected. He's not fully defensively invested. He might be SPDF of some kind. But here he's just going to go out into his Umbreon here, knowing that my Necrozma probably can't touch it too hard. He is correct, so I just fire off another Earthquake wanting to get damage on that Cobalion. It seemed to be my best play at the time because, like I said, Cobalion is still a pretty big problem for my team if it gets the right move correct. So here I'm just going to go out into my Comfey, I believe, to get this Toxic off of my Necrozma, as I do. He is going to throw up a Wish, and I'm like, well, you know, he's probably going to pass this into Cobalion, but there's not too much I can do about it. I think just Aromatherapy is my play because I can get my Necrozma's Toxic off. I can just, you know, try and keep myself on the front foot. So we've basically just gotten nowhere. I think all that's happened is my Comfey has taken a Rock Switch in, my Necrozma's basically taken a Rock Switch in, and his Umbreon has taken like 2 Rock Switch in. So we're basically even at this point. Cobalion's in at full health, and I'm going to make a pivot out into my Heatran, knowing that a close combat is not coming. If he clicks Iron Head, I can take it. If he clicks Toxic, predicting my Necrozma to come back out, I take nothing from that. So Fire Blast is my optimal play here. I want to gauge the damage on his team as he decides to go out into his Blastoise. So we'll see how well this thing takes it, and from 130 special attack, it actually takes it relatively well, which leads me to believe this thing does have a hefty amount of HP investment. So here, I'm going to make the play out into my Roserade because I do not see a Tapu Bulu, so Roserade is a bit more expendable this game, and I can take his Scald relatively well, and I do have the Natural Cure, and I can threaten him out. So he just goes for a Dark Pulse, does quite a hefty amount because I am not Spadef, I just have a little HP investment. So here, I decide I want to keep my Roserade around because if you look at his team, my T-Spike can be helpful, my 2 attacks can also be relatively good this game, so I'm just going to fire off a Synthesis here as I get my Roserade back up to 96%. So I'm keeping my team relatively healthy so far, but I haven't done a ton to his team so far either. So we're kind of at a stalemate at this point. So he's going to go for an Iron Head. He does a good chunk, as he is going to get the flinch here. So my Roserade, I actually went for an extra Sensory there to gauge damage. Because of how much the Earthquake did, I thought a special attack might do even more. He goes for another Iron Head, but as you can see, the physically defensive Roserade is tanking these Iron Heads. I get a Synthesis up here on my Roserade, and I decide here that my T-Spike is going to be more important than my extra sensory damage because he could just Wish Pass, and I really want to poison the Mamoswine, the Blastoise, and the Umbreon. I feel like that's worth it to me. I know he has 3 mons that aren't going to be affected by that T-Spike, but he does have 3 that will be, so I figure that's worth it. He's going to go for an Iron Head. I'm just going to, again, Synthesis up. He does not get the flinch, thankfully, so I get to keep my Roserade around at a decent amount of HP. 66% is not too bad. Again, I do threaten out the Blastoise every time. So I'm now going to make the switch out into my Heatran. There's no way he's clicking close combat there again. So I get to fire off another big Fire Blast, and if the Blastoise wants to come in to take it, he is going to have to take that T-Spike on that Blastoise before he could spin or anything. So that is fantastic for me, as the Cresselia actually decides to come out this time, not the Blastoise. So we'll gauge the Fire Blast damage, and it does a lot because I crit him, 47%, so it does have definitely some Spadef investment in this Cresselia. So this thing is just going to be a problem. I decide Harden to Thundurus is my play here, as he decides to go for the Moonlight, keep his Cresselia healthy. I'm not really breaking through his team very much, and if you hear my dog in the background, I'm sorry, he's itchy. I'm going to fire off a Nasty Plot here, because I know I can 1v1 the Cresselia. Ice Beam will not kill my Thundurus from that range, so I'm going to fire off this Nasty Plot, and as I said before, with my HP investment, I can live an Adamant Life Orb Ice Shard from this Mamoswine from this range. It's a roll that's heavily in my favor. And so I'm just deciding to go for that here, as I am going to click the Grass Knot, and we'll see if we can take out this Mamoswine, as he ends up being Scarf. Now, I don't know why he brought Scarf. Maybe he thought he could wear my team down and then just win with Earthquake or Icicle Crash spam, but I didn't really agree with that because I do have the Milotic, I do have the Heatran, I do have the Necrozma. I have a lot of pivots into this Mamoswine, so my Thundurus is going to go down for basically nothing, which is really bad for us as Aster breaks through first, and we're kind of falling behind a little bit. We're not getting a lot of damage off on his Mons. They're all still relatively healthy. I'm going to go out to my Medicham. This thing is kind of what I'm going to try to use to break the ice here, as he's going to make the pivot out into his Cresselia. Obviously, that's his Mega Medicham counter, and I don't blame him. It's a pretty good one at that. So I'm just going to fire off a high jump kick, as the Cresselia is going to come. Oh, I'm just going to fire off a Fake Out, because I didn't want to risk the high jump kick miss, and if the Mamoswine wanted to stay in, it could have been bad. So I'm going to fire off a Toxic here, as he is going to fire off a Moonlight, trying to keep his Cresselia as healthy as possible. But getting that Toxic off is nice. However, he does still have the Umbreon, so we have to be wary of that. Now, my play right here is just out into the Heatran or the Necrozma. I decide that going into the Comfey is actually my best bet, because I don't want him to double out into Blastoise or something, as Aster sets up the Trick Room. Now, This could be problematic for me. Blastoise is still a pretty big threat to the team. Vikavolt definitely can put in some work on this team without a real special wall. So definitely in a tough spot here, as my Comfey is just going to decide. I believe I just fire off a Calm Mind here, seeing what his play on Comfey is as the Cobalion does come in. Now, the problem is my Draining Kiss does not do a lot to Cobalion because it is a base 50 attack. So even at +1, it's not going to be doing that much to Cobalion. I'll need about +2 to 3-hit KO it. That's assuming Iron Head doesn't 2-hit KO me outright. So I'm going to go out into my Necrozma here. I know I can take any hit from this thing as the Iron Head does come out. That does jack all. So Necrozma doing well this game. I'm just going to here fire off an Earthquake, I believe, trying to 2-hit KO the Umbreon. Sadly for me, though, the Umbreon does come out, and even with Poison, Rocks, my Earthquake still only does 21%, so he will have time to fire off the Wish Protect without a problem. It was actually pretty close, but not close enough. If that had been Toxic, I might be in a better position right now, but he can just fire off a Heal Bell first, and then with his leftovers, not even my 2 Earthquakes can pick him off from this range, so he will be able to Wish Protect back up with his lefties on this Umbreon, and we're just kind of not doing well. We're not really breaking Aster's team down, and it's just this Crest Umbreon core is really, really tough for my team. I'm going to fire off an Earthquake, trying to get a crit, maybe take out his Heal Beller. That would really help me, but I do not get it. He throws up a Wish, now I force him to Protect, which is really, really nice. I can go out into my Mega Medicham, again, try to start breaking his team down. His Cresselia does still have a little damage on it. So I'm going to go out to my Mega Medicham. His Umbreon is going to Protect, and it's going to get a lot of HP back. And I decide here to stupidly fire off a High Jump Kick, trying to just hit the Cresselia twice as he goes for a Protect. Very smart play on Aster's part, very dumb play on my part. And my Medicham is now going to take 50% from that. And we are in a bad position at this point, guys. My Medicham has taken a lot of damage. My Thundurus is dead. Most of my offensive options are gone besides Heatran, but he still does have the Umbreon at a decently low. And I kind of decide at this point that my Heatran is going to be my play of choice for winning the game at this point. I could also do it with Comfey, but again, that Cobalion still remains to be an issue. Here, I'm going to make another misplay. I'm going to fire off a Toxic. That's not the misplay. This next one coming up is, as he's going to Moonlight, and I should have just kept Toxicking this thing and force him to kill me, because I'm going to fire off a High Jump. He's not forced to attack me because he does have the Rocky Helmet. So firing off a High Jump Kick was a really dumb play there, in my opinion, and it's going to end up costing me my Medicham. But that Toxic on the Cresselia could be key later in the game, whether it forces a Heal Bell turn or it forces it allows my Heatran to get the 2-hit KO. That's what's important. So here I'm going to go out into my Comfey. I'm just going to fire off a Draining Kiss to gauge the damage on this Cresselia, as he's going to go again hard out into his Cobalion. This seems to be his dedicated switch into my Comfey, which is a little problematic for me. As you can see, that Draining Kiss does not do any damage, so we are going to need about +2 to even have a chance at 3-hit KOing him. So based on my calcs, though, that was a little bit of a low roll, so we might have a better chance a little bit later. Here I got in my Tran, and guys, just look at my team. It's getting worn down too fast. I cannot break through this wall core. Roserade's at just above half. Necrozma's at about 80. Heatran's below half. Comfey is just above half, but I haven't even touched his Mamoswine, his Vikavolt, his Umbreon, and Cress are both very, very high. Here I'm going to fire off a Fire Blast, and unfortunately for me, I am going to, well, I hit the first one, and this Toxic is going to do a good amount. But is this next one I miss? No, I think I hit the Cresselia here. Yeah, I'm gonna hit the Cresselia. I'm not gonna quite be able to take it out, but as you can see, this Heatran can win this game right here. His fire resist is Blastoise, and that thing has been worn down, and it has to take T-Spikes to come back in. So we actually do kill it with 2 Fire Blasts, so it's not really a switch in. And we're just beating down this Cresselia, waiting for Toxic to rack up on it. And I'm just going to keep firing off, clicking Fire Blast. I'll eventually get a kill with this Heatran and break through this team, because Umbreon should be 2-hit KO'd by a Fire Blast from a Scarf max offensive Heatran at this rate. So I'm going to fire for Fire Blast. He comes in. This is easily going to do 32%, but I miss, and that was huge. That prevented me from breaking through his team to start. So the Umbreon's in. I do have 2 statuses on his Cresselia and his Umbreon, so I'm going to go out into my Comfey here. And here's where I'm going to initiate my plan. My only chance at winning this game, really. My only chance at winning this game is to get 2 Calm Minds up and somehow live 2 Iron Heads from that Cobalion, be able to kill it, and then I live the Mamoswine's hit thereafter. So I have to get 2 Calm Minds up. And remember, when I Toxic that Cresselia earlier, that made him more likely right here to go for the Heal Bell. So the Mega Medicham coming through big right here, forcing him to Heal Bell. I'm going to be able to get my first Calm Mind up before the Cobalion comes in. I'm going to go for a second Calm Mind, and the Cobalion I know is 100% coming in here, but I need +2, like I said earlier, to have any chance at beating this monster. So Cobalion comes in, I'm going to Calm Mind up one more time. Now I'm +2/+2. If you remember my set from earlier, I can't be Toxic to be beat because I have the Aromatherapy. So I'm just going to fire off a Draining Kiss here, gauge the damage on Cobalion, and it does a respectable amount, 38%. So a bit of a higher roll this time. He's going to go for an Iron Head, and my Babiri Berry is going to make it so he cannot 2-hit KO me in any sense of the word, especially after my recovery. So I get to fire off another Draining Kiss, and he's going to fire off another Iron Head, and the max defense Comfey coming through, I only take 60%, and I'm going to be able to pick off this Cobalion with one more Draining Kiss from my Comfey, and we got a chance, boys. We just have to be able to live that Mamoswine's attack at this point. He decides, though, to go out into his Cresselia. Very smart play here on Aster's part, because Draining Kiss is a contact move, so I'm going to gain less back killing this Cresselia than I will from killing the Cobalion. I'm actually going to take a little damage from killing this Cresselia. So his Mamoswine right now is his best chance to pick me off with that Earthquake, and we'll see if he can do it. Mamoswine is a very powerful Pokemon. It basically comes down to this, and if I can play the Comfey right in the end game. And I Draining Kiss, and remember, boys, Triage. Triage just came through huge for us right there. That put us out of range of Mamoswine's Earthquake, into range of the T-Spike, and that is going to be a very, very, very good thing for us, boys. I mean, look at his team. You got the Blastoise. This thing is special. Even a Flash Cannon to a +2 Comfey is not going to do that much, and my Triage ability gives my Draining Kiss priority, so I'm going to get back up to 50%. As long as he doesn't crit me, he does not. 34%, boys. Did we do it? Were we able to come back on Aster with a Comfey? It's getting kind of low, alright? Draining Kiss, 11%. We're getting a little bit down here. We're at 25. We don't have recovery on this Comfey. Our only recovery is Draining Kiss. He goes out to the Vikavolt. Now, at this point, I'm running low on Draining Kisses, so I can't afford to waste any. I do 55 with a crit on this thing as he reveals the Roost, revealing he could potentially Roost stall my Draining Kisses out before I'm able to beat him 1v1. So I am now forced to go for a Taunt so he cannot Roost, and I can 2-hit KO him in peace. So Taunt comes through. He only does 33% with that Thunderbolt, but you're going to see, boys, that was basically a max roll. After that, you're going to see this next damage I do here. I do 34, gain back 32. That's why I love Draining Kiss. You get 75%, and Comfey's low HP stat is beautiful. Yep, he does only 28 that time. And boys, I mean, I think you guys can tell where this is going. We reverse swept Aster with a Comfey week 1 for NPL Miners. We set it up perfectly. We Toxic that Cresselia. We got the T-Spike up, and we forced that Umbreon to go for the Heal Bell, fearing a potential sweep late game from my Heatran. And we were able to bounce back, get my second Calm Mind up, and the Babiri Berry on the Comfey comes through huge, allowing us to take 2 Iron Heads from the Cobalion and allowing us to win this game. So, boys, your Chicago Kyurem-Blackhawks, the rebrand has started off decently well now. We have a very, very good start to the season. Comfey gets 5 kills. Roserade gets 1. Remember, it was the Mamoswine that went down to the T-Spike. So Comfey is going to get 5 kills. Roserade is going to get 1, and we're gonna reverse sweep him with a Comfey. So honestly, boys, I was really down on myself for the first part of this match. I felt like Aster was outplaying us. I wasn't making the smartest plays, but once Victini and Bulu did not come, it was the Comfey show. I knew it had to be Comfey to win this game, or Heatran, but once Heatran started taking damage using all of its Fire Blasts, Comfey was the last option, and as you're going to see, it's going to clean the game right here. Comfey coming through huge for us. Last round pick, very well worth it. It picks up 5 kills in a route on Aster on a reverse sweep. But I mean, the 4-0 does not dictate how close this game was. Aster was in control most of this game. He is a very, very skilled battler, a good longtime friend of mine in this community, and it was just, I just love playing this guy. We always have good games. I always win, which always helps me love playing this guy. But yeah, Aster, great game, my man. But boys, your Chicago Kyurem-Blackhawks are going to start the NPL minor season off 1-0 with a big sweep from Comfey. So we get some good differential, set ourselves up to start the season really, really well. No hacks. The Fire Blast miss was a little unfortunate, but it did allow my Comfey to come in on the Umbreon. I probably would have done that anyway, and I think the same result would have happened. Because I knew Heatran couldn't win the game with its lack of Fire Blast left, so I knew it was have to be Comfey at that point. So yeah, I think the same thing would have happened even if I hit the Fire Blast, but that is going to do it. So surprisingly, we draft a Mega Medicham, a Thundurus, and Comfey is the first MVP, picking up a sweep for us and getting your Chicago Kyurem-Blackhawks to the top of our division to start. That's right. So I encourage you all to go check out the NPL Miners and all the NPL Miners coaches and all the content that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks. I appreciate your support, and make sure you check out the fan Discord for the NPL. I will try to leave a link in the description below to that. But until next time, boys, keep rooting for your Chicago Kyurem-Blackhawks, and let's win this thing.